If you're not using ChatGPT's new 4.5 for your marketing efforts, you're leaving money on the table. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube right now that say it's great, revolutionary, that say it's trash. Well, today in this video, I'm going to share with you side by side my screen comparing 4.5 to 4.0. I'm going to give both the same prompt so that you can see the difference between the two models and if it's worth the $200 price tag for 4.5. In this video, I'm going to share 7 case uses that are all marketing related. And the reason I think this is beneficial is because if you actually read ChatGPT's press release on 4.5, this language model is supposed to be more natural sounding. It's supposed to sound more like a human. So from a marketing standpoint and for writing, this could be a very significant development for content creation. I'm going to look at content ideation, creating social media content, writing an SEO keyword optimized blog post, an email newsletter campaign to nurture leads, sales copy for a landing page, some great market research, and some customer service messaging. Let's go ahead and dive in. Now on my screen, I'm logged into my pro account on the left-hand side, and I've got 4.5 selected. And for this, I am going to select deep research because I find it's an amazing tool to leverage, and if I'm paying $200 a month, I'm going to use it, and it is very effective from a marketing standpoint. On the right-hand side of my screen is just my standard 4.0. So I'm going to give them both the same prompts. Let's see what it creates. The first prompt is going to be centered around creating content and getting ideas. So the prompt I'm giving it is, I'm an expert digital marketer helping coaches solve poor social media messaging that does not resonate with their ideal audience. Generate 30 high-performing content ideas for LinkedIn based on the latest trends in digital marketing for LinkedIn. Include hooks and key takeaways for each. I'm going to turn deep research on and let this go. And let 4.0 go. Now, we can see here when we use deep research, it's always going to ask follow-up questions, which I absolutely love. Okay, so the questions it's asking me is, do I have a specific niche of coaches you primarily work with? Yes, I'll say life coaches. Would you like a mix of content types? Yes, I want them to be the most relevant to my target audience, so it can choose. And then do I prefer to focus on organic strategies, paid strategies, or both? I want to go with organic strategies. And are there any specific LinkedIn trends or formats? And so I just said, just pick the most viral ones. Let's see what it will create. All right, let's take a look at what was generated by both models. Now, 4.0 generated these hooks and the key takeaways instantly. Didn't have to wait. As far as 4.5 with deep research, it took a little over 6 minutes for it to create this. But look at the difference between the two. 4.0, number one, the post, it's talking about why your content isn't converting and how to fix it. The hook is you're posting consistently, but no one is engaging. Here's why your messaging isn't working. The key takeaway, coaches need clear messaging that speak directly to their audience's pain points, not just generic tips. Then if we head over to 4.5 on the first one, the hook is, I almost quit coaching last year, an opening that reveals a personal low point to immediately grab attention and authenticity. And the value shares a compelling story of overwhelming adversity, burnout, self-doubt, or a major setback, and the powerful lesson learned, inspiring readers that even coaches face challenges and modeling resilience. So this is a trend. It leverages raw storytelling and vulnerability. A proven strategy to win hearts on LinkedIn, tapping into the popular personal insight trend that sparks high engagement through relatability and trust building. 2 totally different approaches to content. And I will tell you this, the 4.5 is far better because it gives the creator a framework to create content in that is much more personal, much more authentic. I mean, think about it. If you were going to read a social media post, which one would resonate more with you? Clearly the one from 4.5. So this is very interesting. Let's look at a few more of these. All right, let's look at this. Number 11, stop setting goals. Yes, really. A contrarian hook that shocks the reader by contradicting conventional wisdom, compelling them to read further for the explanation. All right, so it even gives you sort of like the psychological aspect of, why it's suggesting the hook, which is really great. And then if we look over at something from 4.0, they're obviously a lot more simple and they're very generic comparatively. So we look at, there's nothing to compare it to over here. So like why, number 7, why your engagement is dropping and what to do about it. Here's the hook. Are your LinkedIn posts getting fewer likes and comments? Here's why. Key takeaway, optimize post timing. Use more thought-provoking questions and engage with others before posting. So there's just no comparison here. As a final comparison here, let's look at this number 15 from 4.5. 5 things I wish I knew when I started my career. And it's a reflective hook that draws in readers with the promise of hindsight wisdom, a format many find irresistible on LinkedIn. And then if we looked at the 4.0, what I learned from posting daily on LinkedIn in 90 days. All right, so if we look at these two, I think I will say this, I know it's overused, but I think from a social media content creation aspect, I think this can be a big game changer for marketers. Now, let's take it one step further and look and see what both of them could do for an Instagram post. All right, so the prompt I'm going to use for both of these, I'm going to turn on deep research. Let's just see what it does. Write an engaging Instagram caption for a personal trainer for women in their 40s. The post should be relatable, include a strong hook and a clear call to action, and feel authentic. Format it with emojis and hashtags. Let's go ahead and see what they both create. And of course, deep research is going to ask some questions. And to make it kind of close to 4.0, I'll say that it's about motivation, and the CTA should encourage comments. All right, let's take a look at the responses here. On the left-hand side, we've got 4.5. It came up with this post right away, and then a little over a minute, it came up with this one. And 4.0 obviously came up with this one right away. Honestly, I'm not seeing a huge difference between the two. I do think that perhaps if you are using 4.5 and you have more information on your target audience, and if you would like help creating your ideal customer audience, I've got another video here that you can watch, and it is absolutely a game changer when it comes to marketing. It takes the guesswork out of, it's a lot easier to sell somebody something when you can read their mind. And that's exactly what this prompt does. It's a single prompt. You just have to fill in your product or service or your niche, and then that's it. It generates a lot of data, basically the pain points, the thoughts, the desires of your ideal audience. And so definitely check that out. It is a massive help when it comes to marketing. So in this circumstance, I don't see a benefit from 4.5 to 4.0. These are both kind of like generic posts. So I don't see a massive difference here. Let's see in the next exercise how writing a SEO keyword optimized blog post works between these two language models. Okay, here's the prompt. Write a 1,500 word SEO optimized for the keyword ChatGPT 4.5 blog post on social media marketing in 2025. Include high-ranking keywords, structured headlines, a compelling introduction, and a strong call to action at the end to join my school community at, and the URL. We've got deep research turned on. Not sure how that's going to help, but we'll see. Now, you might see here on the 4.0, I do have deep research available to me, and that is only because I have a pro account. And so it's recognizing the fact that I can use that on 4.0. But for those of you that don't have a pro account, I've chosen not to select that. So it's kind of a better comparison between the two. We can see that 4.0 is already drafting the blog post, and 4.5 with deep research is asking me questions. So let's answer those. All right. So it wants to know, do I want a general guide to social media or something specific? And I said, I want to focus on specifically AI tools. And then I want it to have a educational tone and to include references on specific social media platforms. So all right, well, 4.5 is working conducting research. Let's take a look at what 4.0 created. Overall, I think this is really good. It's got an introduction here, and then it just kind of goes through the future of social media for 2025. There's a lot of information here, but it has summarized it in bullet points, so it makes it much easier to read, which is what you really want for a blog post. So AI-powered content creation gives you kind of what the case uses you can use it for. And then there is this, and I have read this on 4.5, is that it is more of a natural speaking model. So this whole thing of hyper personalization or, chatbots are kind of all the rage right now. And if you build your chatbot on 4.5, there is a chance that it can sound more natural, more human-like, which makes a lot of sense. And then different video formats, of course, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts are obviously popular. And then conversational interactive marketing, AI-driven social listening, and trend analysis. Then it kind of gives you a how-to guide here, which is, I like this. AI-generated content for social media posts, what you can actually create, automating customer engagement with chatbots, viral marketing with AI assistants, AI-powered social listening and analytics, influencer marketing and AI-powered outreach, identify ideal influencers based on audiences and demographics, automate personalized outreach messages. Pretty cool. Ad copywriting and optimization, AI-driven email and messenger marketing. And then it gives another section of best practices. So there's a lot of good stuff here. And at the end here, I like it where it says, ready to master AI-powered social media marketing. And I like at the end here, it's got the call to action, join my school community. So this is a very solid blog post. I'm going to be curious to see what 4.5 creates. All right, let's take a look at what 4.5 created. It worked for 14 minutes, and overall, it is a more specific and in-depth blog post than what 4.0 created. And in fact, I just checked this, and I have heard this. I don't do a lot of long-form writing. It's usually for like ad copy or blog posts, things like that. But I have seen people complain about when you've given AI a word count target that it could be wildly off. And it was wildly off with these two. So 4.0 was about 500 words. And for 4.5, it was 1529. So it was 29 words over the 1500, which would be very easy to clean up, but huge difference. So literally 4.0 isn't going to be as specific as 4.5 because it literally is like a third of the content. So I do like how it breaks it down with all these different roles. And then now it breaks it down into the tools. So for content creation, it lists 3 different options for scheduling and automation, insights and analytics, chatbots, and how to leverage your social media to maximize growth. Much more information here. And so one thing to keep in mind is you can't be in a hurry if you're using deep research, because it does take its time. This video is taking forever to make. So let's talk about the next task where we're going to create an email chain to nurture leads. And the prompt I'm going to use, write a high-converting 5-part email sequence for a coach specializing in mindfulness. Email 1 should introduce the brand. Email 2 should highlight benefits. Email 3 should provide social proof. Email 4 should address objections. And email 5 should be the final push for urgency. Now, we're not giving it a ton of content. 4.5 with deep research is obviously going to have an advantage here, but let's just see what it creates. All right, so the questions deep research is asking is who's the target audience? I'm going to say parents. What specific mindfulness services or programs do you offer? We're going to say one-on-one coaching. Is there a specific tone? I want it to be warm and conversational. And do you have a specific call to action? Yes, let's book a free consultation. While 4.5 is working, let's go over what 4.0 came up with. And I'll tell you, it's pretty good. Now, it's kind of a general template where we can fill in specific information. But overall, I think it did a really nice job of executing really kind of the short generic prompt that I gave it. So this first one is really just kind of introducing the person and, identifying the target audience, busy professionals like you, balance, that's always a big deal. How to fight feeling overwhelmed or stuck in overdrive. And then, kind of gives them a preview of what to expect over the next few days. So you're kind of previewing the content, which is always great. If we go to number 2, it talks about the benefits and why this works. And I like this. So, right away, Here's how it can help you. Less stress, more calm, better focus and productivity, more presence and joy. I mean, those are all things that parents would love when they're running around with their kids. So if we go to number 3, this is where it's supposed to be an example of social proof. And it gives essentially a framework here for you to plug in things. And, it's going to speak to the pain points of the target audience, which this is well executed. Now, number 4, I like this. It's sort of like how to address objections, which is pretty cool. So these, if you want to create content that is relevant to your audience, you want your audience to feel like you understand them. And this is a great way. So, instead of telling people you're an expert, this is the kind of content you need to create. So it's like, I know, or this is my audience, but to create content that says, I don't have time for mindfulness. Totally. Like that is what this audience is probably thinking. I'm not good at meditation. I've tried before. It didn't work. Okay. So by stating the correct objections that your audience is thinking, instantly gives you credibility and builds trust. So that's why this is so effective to do this like this. So this is a pretty solid email campaign. If we go to 5, it's sort of the final push. And I like here that there is, you do have to develop an offer here. And now it's like, to create a sense of urgency, it's a limited time. So overall, I would say this is a very solid email campaign. And with just a few tweaks, I think it would be very effective. All right, before we get into what 4.5 created, and it worked for about 6 minutes here, it kind of gives you a little play-by-play here on the right-hand side. So it shows you kind of what it's working on and the tasks it's kind of going through, the sources of where it's gathering information from. So it's pretty interesting. All right, so let's take a look at email number 1. Here's an introduction, and it's pretty lengthy. All right, so if we look at the email number 1 that 4.5 created, it's obviously more in depth. And of course, I couldn't tell you which one would be more effective. We would have to actually put these out into the market and see what the response would be for our audience. So it does seem to be, obviously, it's more detailed, more personable. So I do feel like there could be a marginal advantage to the 4.5 version, but I'm not the target audience here. So let's take a look at number 2. In this email, there's obviously more information, and I do like the level of detail. And you know what? Thinking about this kind of like just off the cuff, if you're trying to sell something, especially like a high ticket item, you need more information like this. So, clearly the one from 4.0 might be appropriate for a certain circumstance. But if you're selling something that maybe is more complicated or has a higher price, you need to create value. You need to kind of explain it more so that people understand essentially that the higher price is worth it. So this might work better. So email 3 is all about social proof, and the 4.5 went ahead and created 2 characters for social proof. So far more information than 4.0 here. Now, and the testimonials are actually pretty good. So I think they definitely relate to some of the objections that this audience might have, or there's certainly examples that the audience could relate to. So I would say this is pretty impressive for 4.5. All right, so if we get to number 4, addressing objections, the interesting thing here is that with 4.5, it gives actual techniques and examples of things that you can do. So the detail here is great. I think this is great for building trust and credibility. On the right-hand side, that is good. However, you could say that that's a little more generic. Whereas I think being more specific generally always builds more trust and credibility. So I would give the edge here to 4.5. All right, there is absolutely a benefit to the 4.5 here. This is a much better pitch. I love this where, this is really sort of the final push to get the person to purchase or sign up, whatever it is. So, I'm opening up just a few slots for free one-on-one consultation calls. Several parents have already booked theirs. There are only a couple left. If you're sitting on the fence, jump in. Like this is all like really good stuff that actually works. So I will definitely say that this is a much better final email on 4.5 compared to 4.0. All right, now let's take a look at creating some sales copy for a landing page and see which one is better. For this exercise, I'm going to use the following prompt. Write a persuasive landing page copy for a landscape company that wants to grow its full weekly maintenance program. It should include a strong headline, benefit-driven bullet points, social proof, and a compelling call to action. All right, so 4.0 is off to the races. Let's see what 4.5 is asking me. All right, so it's asking me, is there a specific target market? Which absolutely it is. We want to do homeowners, key differentiators of the company. It's a high-end service, and we want to use existing testimonials and awards. And the specific call to action is, let's give them an offer where if you sign up, you're going to get 1 free week of service. We can take a look at what 4.0 created. It pretty much created this instantly. So I would say this is maybe a little too brief for a landing page, but I guess if you add in some images here that are relevant, we want this to be quick and easy to read. And we've got right here at the bottom to schedule your free consultation now. So not bad. I mean, obviously I didn't give it a ton of context. So I would say, this is definitely a great starting point. Okay, so 4.5 created a nice landing page here. It took about 2 minutes for it to create it. And of course, doing the deep research here does set it apart because this does have a different tone that was created on 4.0. And so maybe some of you are like, well, this isn't a fair comparison, but I really do think it is because you have that functionality of deep research with your pro account and you should be using it. So I like the way the tone and everything and the writing or the way that this is written. I think this is, I actually have a landscape company as a client in my agency. And so this is all things that resonate with the audience. So I think this is very good. And there is a little more information here, which I know for this market, they like to do their research. So the more information there is for them, the better. That helps build trust and credibility. So overall, I would give the slight edge here to 4.5. Next, let's do some market research. And I'm pretty sure I know how this is going to go, but let me show you side by side here. Here's the prompt I'm going to use. Analyze the top trends for hearing protection and identify underserved customer pain points. Provide insights on how to position Clear 360 headphones to solve these pain points. We're going to turn on deep research and let that go. I'm going to do this here. Obviously, deep research wants to has some questions for me. And so it's asking for a specific industry. I'm going to say the military, and I'm not going to say anything about competition. So we're just going to say this. All right, well, 4.5 is working. Let's take a look at what 4.0 created here. And it's got really just, I'd say, a nice start. Of course, we could ask it to elaborate on this. And it is showing us where it's pulling its information here. And so for the Clear 360, it's pulling it from their website. But it does say here that there are several customer pain points that remain underserved, such as difficulties in speech, intelligibility, discomfort during prolonged use, and challenges in maintaining situational awareness using hearing protection devices. Okay. And so this is obviously, it pulled some information on the Clear 360 headphones because that is what they kind of specialize in. And so overall, I think this is fine, but it's not going to be able to compare to deep research. All right, so 4.5 has completed it. It took 6 minutes. And look at the difference here. On the right, we've got 4.0. Okay, not much there. All right, there's already more information on the screen, but look at all of this. Common pain points, Clear 360 headphones. I mean, look at this. This is a ton of information. And so this is where, when it comes to marketing, most people need to do more research, and it is absolutely worth the price. If you're working on a marketing plan or any kind of strategy, using the deep research is an absolute game changer when it comes to marketing, because you would never be able to get this data yourself. This really, truly is a game changer here for marketing. All right, for the final side-by-side comparison, we're going to ask both models to handle a customer service issue And the prompt I'm going to give it is create a response for handling a complaint from a customer that was overcharged for a furnace cleaning in a friendly, professional tone. Provide concise answers and include an escalation path if needed. Now, do we need deep research on this? I don't really think so, but let's just see what they're going to ask. Would you like the response to be in email format? Would we like the response to be for, and I'll say Facebook Messenger. I'm not going to give it any specific policies or anything like that. So 4.5 created a response. Now it's going to do some research. While that's working, let's look at what 4.0 created. Thank you for reaching out and bringing this to our attention. We understand how important fair and transparent pricing is, and we want to make sure that everything is accurate for you. We'd be happy to review your invoice and clarify any discrepancies. Okay. If you'd like to discuss this further, please reply to this email. Yep. All right, so this seems pretty straightforward, pretty generic. This would be fine to use. Okay, so after it completed the first response, it did some research and created another version here. Yeah, it's a little better, but I think in this circumstance, there isn't anything notable. I mean, really, I think the big difference here is this does seem to be a little more personable, but is it worth spending $200 a month for this? I would say not, because you could very easily refine the one from 4.0 to accomplish the same thing. So what's the verdict here? Is 4.5 a game changer? Well, I think in some circumstances it can, but I really think the game changer here is using it with deep research, depending on what you're working on. If you're working on any kind of strategy, I highly recommend it. In fact, maybe just buy it for the month and complete your marketing plan or your marketing strategy. And then, you can leverage the technology itself and not have to keep paying for it month after month. Because I think in most cases, 4.0, you can prompt it enough. And I think at this point, a lot of people have built custom GPTs or using ChatGPT projects with instructions that you can tweak, that you can accomplish a lot of the things here. So again, I think the difference between the two is pretty marginal, but I'd be curious what your opinions are. So in the comments below, let me know if you think 4.5 is worth the cost. And thanks again for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.